The sky cracked open above my house at midnight, and I did not know that moment would change my life forever. I was Daniel Ashford, 34 years old, living alone on the edge of a quiet town, after losing my wife 2 years earlier. That night, a streak of blue fire tore across the clouds and slammed into the hill behind my barn. The ground shook. Windows rattled. My dog barked so hard he lost his voice by morning. I grabbed a flashlight and ran outside, my heart pounding, thinking a plane had gone down. What I found was not wreckage. It was a small pod, smoking and cracked open, sitting in the wet grass like an egg thrown from the stars. And inside it, wrapped in a strange silver cloth, was a baby. Not a human baby. Her skin had a faint blue shimmer under the moonlight, and thin lines glowed softly across her arms like tiny rivers of light. She had large dark eyes, and when she looked at me, she did not cry like a normal child. She reached out one small hand and gripped my finger, and something in my chest just broke open. I should have called the police. I should have called the government. Instead, I picked her up, held her against my chest, and carried her inside my house. I do not know why I did it. Maybe I was lonely. Maybe some part of me needed someone to protect. Whatever the reason, that night I became a father. I named her Vesper, because she arrived under the evening stars. The next few years were not easy. She grew faster than a normal child, but her body was fragile in strange ways. She could not eat most human food without getting sick, so I learned to grow strange plants from seeds that came with her pod. She glowed brighter when she was scared, and dimmer when she was calm. The town noticed, of course. Word spreads fast in small places. But when they saw how she laughed at cartoons, how she chased fireflies in the yard, how she called me Dad with her small voice, most people simply accepted her as another one of life's mysteries. I taught her to read. I taught her to ride a bike, even though she crashed into my truck twice. I taught her right from wrong, and she taught me how to smile again after losing my wife. She was mine in every way that mattered, even if her blood came from somewhere far beyond our sky. There was one thing I never told her about. A pendant. It had been tucked inside the silver cloth she arrived in, warm to the touch, humming faintly like it was alive. I kept it locked in a drawer, afraid of what it might mean. Some nights, I would take it out and stare at it, wondering if someone out there was looking for her. I never imagined they would actually come. 10 years passed. Vesper turned into a bright, curious girl with a laugh that filled the house. She still had her glowing markings, still ate her strange garden vegetables, but otherwise, she felt like any other child growing up in our little corner of the world. I had almost forgotten to be afraid. Then one evening in early autumn, the sky turned wrong. I was fixing the fence when Vesper called out from the porch, her voice sharp with fear. I turned and saw it. A shadow larger than any cloud, blotting out the setting sun, descending slowly over the hills. It was not a plane. It was not anything human. The air buzzed with a low hum that made my teeth ache, and every phone in the house lit up with the same emergency alert at once. Within minutes, the news showed the same shadow hanging over cities across the world. Massive ships, silent and still, floating above every major nation. People screamed. Streets filled with cars trying to escape nowhere. Governments scrambled to respond, but no missile was fired. No shot was returned. The ships simply waited. Then a voice spoke, not through speakers, but somehow directly into every mind on the planet at once. One word, translated into every human language at the exact same moment. Return. I felt the pendant in the drawer grow warm through the wood, like it was answering a call I could not hear. My hands shook as I ran inside and pulled Vesper close, my mind racing. I had spent 10 years pretending this day would never come. That night, a smaller craft descended near my house, exactly where the pod had crashed a decade earlier. Soldiers arrived from the nearby base within the hour, forming a perimeter, but they kept their distance, unsure what they were dealing with. I stood on my porch with Vesper hidden behind me, watching a door open on the side of the craft, light spilling out like liquid gold. A figure stepped out, tall, elegant, covered in markings that glowed exactly like my daughter's, but far more intense, pulsing with authority. Her eyes locked onto Vesper immediately, and for a moment, the whole world seemed to hold its breath. She spoke, her voice carrying strange music beneath the words, though somehow I understood every syllable, as if the pendant translated it directly into my mind. "I am Illyra," she said. "Mother of the Hive, ruler of the outer colonies. 10 years ago, I was forced to send my daughter away to save her life from those who would have destroyed her for being different. I have fought for a decade to reclaim my throne, and now I have come to bring her home." Vesper gripped my hand so tightly it hurt. I felt her trembling, but I did not step aside. "I understand you lost her once," I said, keeping my voice steady, even though my heart pounded like a drum. "But she is not lost anymore. She is my daughter. I raised her, I fed her, taught her, loved her, every single day for 10 years. You cannot just walk in and take her because you carry her blood." Illyra's markings flared brighter, and for a moment, I thought she might strike me down where I stood. Soldiers behind the fence raised their weapons slightly, but she raised one hand, and they lowered them again, as if some invisible force controlled the tension in the air. "You do not understand what she is," Illyra said, her voice sharper now. "She is not simply a child. She carries the mark of true succession, a rare gift passed down only once in many generations. Without her, my empire falls into chaos. Rivals will tear each other apart fighting for a throne that is rightfully hers." I looked down at Vesper, this small girl who had once fit inside my 2 hands, who was now nearly as tall as my shoulder, staring up at a mother she had never known, with a mixture of fear and wonder in her glowing eyes. "Then let her choose," I said. "If she is truly meant to lead someday, then she deserves the right to decide her own path, not have it forced upon her." Illyra studied me for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she knelt down, bringing herself to Vesper's eye level, something I imagine a queen rarely does for anyone. "Do you remember anything of where you came from?" she asked softly. Vesper shook her head slowly. "No," she whispered. "I only remember here. I only remember Dad." Something shifted in Illyra's face then, a crack in the regal mask. Something painfully human, despite her alien features. Grief. Real grief. 10 years deep. "I did not want to leave you," she said. "I had no choice. Enemies within my own court would have ended your life the moment you were born, simply because your gift threatened their power. I sent you away with the only human world close enough to reach in time, hoping, praying, that someone kind would find you before the cold did." Vesper stepped forward, releasing my hand for the first time, and reached out to touch the markings on Illyra's arm, the same glowing lines that ran across her own skin. "I am not angry," Vesper said quietly, "but this is my home. Dad is my family. I do not want to leave him." The silence that followed felt like it stretched across the entire evening sky. Soldiers waited. Cameras from 100 miles away captured the standoff live for the entire world to watch. And somewhere in that silence, I saw the Queen Mother's shoulders lower, just slightly, as if a great weight had finally been set down. "I will not force you," Illyra finally said. "I have already lost 10 years I can never reclaim. I will not lose you further by making you resent me." She rose to her full height and looked at me directly, her eyes no longer filled with threat, but with something closer to respect. "You raised her with courage," she said. "You protected something you did not understand, simply because it needed you. That is a rare kind of strength, even among my own people." We reached an agreement that night, one that no history book could have predicted. Vesper would remain with me, on Earth, in the only home she had ever known. But she would also learn about her heritage, visiting the colonies when she was ready, guided gently by a mother who had fought a war, just for the chance to say goodbye properly, instead of never seeing her daughter again. The great ships left our skies within a week, but Illyra returned every season after that. Small visits at first, careful and quiet, learning how to simply exist near her daughter without demanding anything in return. Slowly, awkwardly, something like trust began to grow between us as well. 2 very different parents, bound together by the same fierce love for the same remarkable child. Vesper grew older, stronger, more confident in who she was, a girl who belonged to 2 worlds at once, no longer forced to choose between them. And every night, when I looked at her sleeping peacefully in the room I had built for her all those years ago, I remembered that storm, that broken pod in the grass, and the small hand that had reached out and gripped my finger. I had only meant to save a life that night. I never expected that life would end up saving mine as well.